Hello my lovely Misfitians, and welcome to another video. On Instagram this week, several of you asked me to make a video about my favorite supplies, and that is how this idea originated, is actually from your genius ideas. And I am so thankful whenever you give ideas in the comments or even on Instagram. I really do read those and take those to heart, and usually I am creating a list of potential videos to do in the future. So that being said, please leave comments down below letting me know things that you would like for me to cover on this channel or even on blog posts on my website. I am always looking for new ideas. That being said, let's go ahead and jump into this video. Now, for this particular video, I do want to say art supplies are very much a personal preference of the artist. And that is very much true with my particular paint colors and why I have chosen them. I'm going to tell you right now, I've spent way too much money on paint supplies and way too many hours on just swatching colors. I think one particular weekend I spent over 47 hours just swatching colors, trying to hone this particular palette and really make sure that I was choosing the colors that made the most sense for me. That being said, after countless hours and countless dollars invested, these particular colors are my favorite, and here is the reason. First off, when I am approaching a color palette, I always like to think of the color wheel. So all of my paint colors easily can fit on the color wheel. The reasoning for this is, number one, it's just a matter of ease. I don't necessarily need all of these colors to complete a painting, but it is nice to have a go-to color in a particular section, such as a really nice orange or a really nice purple that I can go to immediately without having to mix that color up. The next stipulation that I have for my particular color palette is I wanted to make sure I had 6 really good primary colors. And yeah, you heard me, 6. So you've probably heard there are 3 primary colors and you can make any color with those 3. Well, technically that is not true. Have you ever tried to, let's say, mix red with blue, and you're supposed to get this nice, beautiful purple? However, you just kind of get mud. And the reason for that is because you probably have a warm red as well as maybe a cool blue, and those 2 colors, when they mix together, are going to create mud. So to solve this problem, it's always a really good idea to have 2 sets of primaries in your collection. The first set of primaries that are in my palette are the traditional primaries, and that is red, yellow, and blue. My traditional red would be Scarlet Lake. I absolutely love this color. It's very transparent, but it is a pure, bright red. The next traditional primary would be my blue, which I use Failio Sapphire Blue. I feel like this particular one is just a strong, bright, brilliant blue that has very little granulation in it. I've found over the years that there are certain blues that have this granulation texture, and personally I don't really like that in my paintings. So this particular blue is very vibrant and very bright, but also doesn't have much of that granulation inside of it. And finally, my traditional primary color is yellow, which is Winsor yellow, and that is a pure primary yellow that Winsor has put out. So those are my 3 traditional primary colors. The next three primary colors in my palette would be considered modern primary colors. And the reason why they're considered modern is because a lot of print shops will use these, and you'll actually find these colors in your printer, such as magenta, cyan, and yellow. So my three primaries would be Brilliant Opera Rose, Cobalt Turquoise, and then finally I use Windsor Yellow, but sometimes I will also substitute a Naples Yellow if I want more of those warmer tones. So I kind of switch back and forth between the Windsor Yellow and the Naples Yellow when I'm dealing with my modern primary colors. And that is 6 of the 22 colors. And if you just wanted to invest in 6 of these colors, those would be really good ones to invest in. You could actually mix almost all of these colors with those particular colors, except for the ones that are more pastel, and for those you would need a zinc white gouache. And yeah, you heard me right. I am very much a mixed media watercolor illustrator, and I like using white in my illustrations. So gouache white, this zinc white, is actually very much considered a primary supply for my particular palette. Okay, now that we have our primaries figured out, as well as I've given you one of my little secrets, I always include white in my palette. Let's talk about the next set of colors that I would include in my palette. And basically, these colors have been chosen because they would fit very easily into the color wheel. And as stated earlier, they're mainly for just ease of painting and mixing your colors, such as I don't necessarily have to make an orange. It's readily available to me inside of my palette. And these are the colors that fit that particular category. And finally, the last category that I include in my palette is a really good set of neutrals. And the reason why I include these is because I paint a lot of animals, and so I don't necessarily want to mix all of my neutrals. I like to have a good assortment of neutrals available and on hand. So these are the colors that I find are great for those neutral browns, as well as for toning down particular colors inside of my palette to make them work for my animal illustrations. And that is it for the colors that I absolutely love that are inside of my palette. Now, another reason that I want to highlight kind of at the end, and the reason why I've chosen these particular colors, and you've probably noticed it while I've been going through all of these paint colors on the screen, these colors are very vibrant and very pure. So I'm going to say right now, most of these colors I do not use directly from the tube. A lot of times I am mixing them and honing these colors in my color palette. However, that being said, I like the option of starting with the purest, brightest, most vibrant color and then being able to tone it down in my palette. It's always easier to tone down your colors and make them less vibrant. However, trying to go from a more traditional color to a more vibrant color is impossible. You can't do that. So, this is another reason why I have chosen these particular colors and they fit for me. Because if I want a very vibrant color that's a pop color in my illustration, I can easily get that from my palette. However, if I want a more neutral tone and I am trying to do more of a traditional color palette in my illustration, I can easily take these colors and tone them down to fit my purposes. So those are my colors. I hope you enjoyed this. And I hope that you can learn from this particular information and maybe get some colors for your Christmas list. Lots of love, y'all, and I will see you in the next video.